Hello parents and students, this is the second video to go over the daily note sheet that was sent home. So I'll be working on the back of the worksheet that you have. And the first question it starts off with is, how can you simplify an improper fraction? Well, there are two vocabulary words in this question that you would need to know. You need to know what it means to simplify, and you also need to know what an improper fraction is. Well, I know that to simplify means that I'm able to take a number and I'm able to find a common factor. That means a number that can be split into each of those parts an equal number of times. So I can find that as a smaller fraction. So let's look at the example 4/6. Okay? This fraction can be simplified because there's a number, a common factor, that can go into 4 and can go into 6. A rule that we've talked about at school is anytime you see a fraction that is even in the numerator and the denominator, you can always use the common factor of 2. So I can divide my numerator by 2 and my denominator by 2. And 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 4/6 can be simplified to 2/3. Do you remember the word that means that they're equal to one another, or they take up the same amount within the whole? That word is equivalent. I can say that 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3. All right, well now I need to know what an improper fraction is. And an improper fraction is a fraction that has a numerator that is larger than the denominator. For example, I might have the fraction 15/5. Well, my numerator is definitely larger than my denominator in this example. And I want to see how I can simplify this. How can I bring it down into a smaller fraction? Okay, well, I know that 5 is a common factor of both 15 and 5. So first, let me simplify the fraction. 15 divided by 5 and 5 divided by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay? Well, this fraction, which is still improper, is telling me that I have 3 pieces, and each of my pieces is representing one whole. So if I have that, here's a piece that's representing one whole. Here's another piece that's representing one whole. And here's another piece that's representing one whole. So to simplify this fraction, how many wholes do I have? I have 3. So 3 over 1 is the same thing as saying 3 wholes, because each of these pieces is representing one whole. Let's look at the next problem, and it will help solidify what I just said, and it will make a little more sense. It says, every day Safiatu drinks 6/8 cups of orange juice at breakfast. How much orange juice does she drink in 3 days? Draw a model to help you solve. Well, first I have to think, what is the problem telling me? And it tells me that every day she drinks 6/8 cups of orange juice. So that means on day 1, she drank 6/8. On day 2, she drank 6/8. And on day 3, she has had 6/8 cups of orange juice. And I want to know how much she had total over the 3 days. Well, I have 3 different fractions, and if I want to know how much she had all together, that word all together means that I need to add. So I can add these 3 fractions together, and I can do 6/8 plus 6/8 plus 6/8. All right, here are my 3 days of orange juice. Now, remember, what type of fraction are these if the denominators are all the same? And these are called like fractions. So that means that my denominator is going to stay an 8. Please do not let the problem trick you and think that you need to make your denominator 24. You do not need to add 8 each time. Your denominator stays the same. The only part that you need to add is your numerator. So 6, 12, 18. Okay, so she drinks a total of 18/8 of orange juice. But this is an improper fraction. The numerator is larger than the denominator. So I need to see if I'm able to simplify 18/8. Okay, so if I draw a picture to help me, that means that I have a whole that's split into 8s. I have another whole that needs to be split into 8s because I need to represent a total of 18/8. 18 pieces of 1/8. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, but I have to keep going. So I'm going to draw another whole that's split into 8 equal parts since my denominator is 8. And I'm going to keep counting until I get to 18. So I stopped at 16, here's 17, and there is 18. So how much orange juice did she drink? Well, she drank this whole amount, so here's one whole. Here's the second part that I did, which is one whole. And then this third piece here, there are only 2 represented out of the 8. So my fraction here is 2/8. So to simplify the improper fraction of 18/8, I know that that is 2 wholes and 2 8s. So altogether, she drank 2 2/8 cups of orange juice. For those of you that are saying, Miss Lavoie, you forgot to do this next part, you may have noticed also that 2/8 is a fraction that can again be simplified because there is a factor that's common or shared between both my numerator of 2 and my denominator of 8. And that number, since these are both even, is 2. So that means that I can simplify this even more. My whole number stays the same. I have 2 wholes, but 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So this has now been simplified 2 different steps, but this is giving me my easiest answer to work with. Altogether, she drank 2 1/4 cups of orange juice. Now these questions on the back have multiple steps, so if you're still not sure how to answer a question, I encourage you to go back and re-watch the explanation as many times as you need to truly understand how I'm working out these problems. Question number 7 asks you to draw a model to show that 5/8 is equal to 2/8 plus 3/8. There's not anything for me to really solve in this problem. I've already been given the answer that I need to work with. All I need to do is draw a model. So let me draw a picture that's split into 8 equal parts. And I'm just going to prove that 2/8, there's 2, and now I need to represent my 3/8, 1, 2, 3, is giving me a complete answer of 5/8. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/8 in my drawing. Question number 8 tells you that Elijah is explaining how to decompose the fraction 6/5 with an addition sentence, and it's asking you, what would he say? Well, you have to know what the vocabulary term decompose means. And decompose means to break something down. Decomposing is different than simplifying. If you're decomposing, you're showing how much each individual piece within your fraction is worth. And there are two different ways that you could decompose this. You could decompose this fraction using only unit fractions. And if you remember what the word unit fractions means, it means that all of your numerators are 1. So I could break this down to say 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus one more, 1/5. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fifths. I've just decomposed this using only unit fractions, or only fractions with a numerator of 1. These are also like fractions still because they all share the denominator of 5. So it's both a like fraction, my denominators, and these are all unit fractions because they all have a numerator of 1. You could decompose this in multiple ways without using unit fractions as well. You could break this down into 3/5 plus 3/5. You could break it down into 5/5 plus 1/5, however you want to, as long as your denominator stays a 5 and your numerators can be added together to give you the sum of 6, you can decompose the fraction that way.